This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Welcome back to another show. We have a great lineup planned for you today. With us is Chad Francis with Thrive Stewardship. He's a 9-year veteran of the financial advisory industry, and he's going to talk to us specifically about, like, costs are going up, right, Chad? Everything's going up. Even the cost of egg, cost of gas, everything's rising.
Oh, it's a hot topic. Everyone is asking what's going on and why am I keep paying more for all the same stuff. Yep. And I read so many great articles on it, went through a lot of great studies on it. So it's fun when I get to kind of break the bad news to people to go, well, it's not exactly what you think.
Yep, it's not exactly what you think. And so, but the number one question, like I'm always asked by people who have some income, that they've worked hard, they've saved up some money, and they're wondering, hey, what should I do with this money? So do you ever, I'm sure you get that question all the time, is that right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so what's, let's say somebody had $100,000, whether it's in, like, let's just say $100,000 cash. Like, it's saved up, they've worked hard, they have $100,000. What, in your opinion, should they do with that $100,000?
Pay your taxes first.
Pay your taxes. Nah, you can put it on a payment plan. You're good.
No, that's a great question. And yeah, it's one that comes up all the time, and you nailed it with the $100,000. It's a common amount where people go, I feel like I have too much sitting in cash. A good emergency fund is always something you want to have.
So how much is a good emergency fund?
There's a recommendation out there for, percentages or a multiplier. The common one you hear all the time, just because I'm endorsed by him as an investment advisor,
Yep.
You get the Dave Ramsey input on things. His advice is that 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And so when you're looking at that, yeah, you kind of just want to take your numbers and times it by 3, times it by 6 for your expenses. It's not your income, but what does it cost for you to get through the month and survive without suffering terribly?
And where should you put that 3 to 6 months of emergency funds? Where should that be? In mayonnaise jars in the backyard, or where should you put it?
Oh, yeah, you got to bury it in the dirt, keep it there for safety. But no, you're thinking about your savings account, you're thinking about checking, wherever it makes sense for you. But the best places you can keep it are places where it's actually doing something. So unfortunately, a lot of the big banks that are out there in your savings account, they're not paying great rates. You hear that interest rates are up and they should be paying wonderfully. Many of them aren't. And so if you think about some of that emergency fund, maybe that 1 month worth, keep that in your savings. It's there, it's liquid, it's easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it, the other 2 to 5 months worth that you might be holding back with, go with something that's more high yield. You can find something great out there that's paying 5% right now, which is wonderful. Keeps ahead of inflation. You're actually making some money, but it's still FDIC insured. It's safe. You feel good about that. And when you need it, and the rain comes, and it will in everyone's life in different seasons, you've got that money ready.
Okay, so it's there, but maybe just a little harder to access. That's why you keep them 1 month in like savings.
Yeah, so when something pops up and you got a little emergency, hey, no big deal. You move it over to checking, it takes 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. You go to that high yield option, yeah, maybe that's where your other 10, 15, 20,000 sitting, but it's going to take you a business day or two to get it moved over to your normal bank. So you don't want to have it all sitting over there, and something pops up, and they go, oh no, now I have a real emergency, because now it's also time.
Yeah, and be careful on the bank you pick, too. Tell you what, don't go with Wells. I'll say that on the air. Don't go with Wells. They shut down my bank accounts. They shut down all my accounts without notice. And I was freaking out. I thought I'd been hacked. I went in and...
Well, what were you doing? Were you misbehaving? Were you giving them attitude? What happened?
I was selling, some illicit drugs on the side, and apparently that's not... No, I wasn't doing anything. So this is what happened, is they said that my addresses weren't correct. And so on my business accounts, because I had a business and personal with Wells...
Sure.
They said my business addresses weren't updated, and I said, okay, great. I'm going to update them right now on this, the Secretary of State's website. I went back in 15 minutes later. I sat in the parking lot, updated it. Like, nope, we can't do this. By the way, all your other accounts are getting shut down too. I said, now what?
But do you realize why they were doing that? Don't you feel like they were doing that to protect you? Feeling like, hey, maybe his personal information is being compromised or hacked, and they're just making security measures. It's better safe than sorry.
You're such a nice guy.
The benefit.
I'm just trying to look at it from everybody's perspective.
I like the benefit of the doubt. So here's where I think I don't know what
I will say this. The challenge, though, is getting it back. I'm okay with him shutting it down temporarily, but then the rigmarole and all the ordeal they have to go through to unlock it. Like, I still can't get my Venmo account unlocked. It's been locked for like 10 years, and they won't unlock it because of...
I just Venmo'd you last week. That's not going to you?
I don't. So if you're trying to send money, or I go to certain events and they only take Venmo, I can't do it. They shut me down, and I can't get my Venmo account back.
Yeah, so what happened with me is they said the address was wrong. I fixed it. They said, okay, that's whatever. We're still shutting down your accounts, and you'll get a check in the next 15 business days.
Wow.
And they said, but we sent you lots of letters notifying you of this. I was like, you sent me letters to the address that you think is wrong, and that's why you're shutting down my bank account? And they said, yeah. And I was like, that's brilliant. And so what's funny about this whole situation is I updated my addresses on all the accounts to try and reverse this process. And then 15 business days later, I got letters from Wells Fargo saying, we're going to be shutting down your account. You need to update your address. The same day I got those letters was the same day I got more letters from Wells saying, hey, thank you for updating your bank account. And this is after they've already shut down my accounts. So those letters that they said they sent me, I had not received yet, and they shut it down. And so anyways, I went with a local bank, and then I was telling her my story, and she's like thinking, yeah, you were doing something shady. Like there's who would turn away, somebody that's current on everything, that has money in the bank.
You don't hear that very often where the bank is saying, here, take your money back. We don't want it.
Exactly.
Rarely do you hear that. That seems odd.
And so
hey, we're closing out your accounts. Take your money. We don't want it.
And so I'm telling her the story, and she's like, yeah, she's just not buying it. She's not buying it.
This is the local bank.
This is the local bank that's saying this now. Yeah, and I'm like, well, whatever. She can buy it or not buy it, but I'm opening an account here. And when Valerie went in, because we just had Ben. So Ben was just born. All our accounts are getting shut down. We have access to no money, no cash, except what we have in our wallets. And so it's super stressful. So then Valerie wasn't able to be there at the time we were creating the account because Ben was born literally 48 hours prior. And so she goes in to get added onto all the accounts, and the same rep is there, and she's saying, hey, you know what? I didn't really know what Johnny was talking about, but in just the last week, 5 other people have come from Wells saying that they did the same exact thing, like unannounced, and they just shut down their accounts. So I don't know what's going on over at Wells, but if you're banking with them, you might want to explore some other options. But we went way off in the deep end here. So let's say you have your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months saved up. Now, what should you do with that extra $100,000 that you're like, how would you recommend they invest that?
Sure. So when you're looking at that, it always comes back to what's that money's purpose? What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? Are we doing things right by other savings accounts? Are we looking at your retirement accounts? If you're hitting all those marks, you're putting into retirement, you're doing this, you're doing that, you just got some extra money. Yeah, one of the best places right now, and still has always been, a good mutual fund that's exposed and taken part in the stock market.
Man, I thought you were going to say real estate.
We can go that way for sure, but just as a easy parking spot, because it's still liquid. Mm-hmm. You have a brokerage account. It's not tied to retirement if you're under age 60. It functions just like a savings account. You put money in, you take it out whenever you want. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, it's sitting in something good that's growing that, some years are way up, some years are negative, like 2022.
Yeah.
But you look over a long period of time, last 100 years of the market, you're averaging 10, 11% in growth. So it's a great place to still be parking that money as long as that window of time is long enough to go with that growth.
Totally get it. And so I'm a big Grant Cardone fan. And, just a lot of the things that he has. So I've been following this guy for probably close to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the things that he has said, I've implemented in my life and seen significant growth in those areas, whether it be business or personal or health. And when somebody comes to him with the $100,000 question, at least this is how he used to answer it, is he's like, hold on to it, right? I think Warren Buffett is the first rule of investing is don't lose money. Second rule of investing, refer to rule number 1, don't lose money. And so he's like, his thing is hold on to it, develop that financial muscle, that financial discipline to not spend the money, because so many people, have a stack of cash and then think, oh, I have a stack of cash, I'm going to buy the stuff I've been delaying purchasing. And so what you're saying is in line with that is invest it in something, right? Don't spend the money.
Yeah, and even when you're investing, you haven't spent it.
Yes.
You've just transferred that wealth into a different asset that
Absolutely.
you still own. But here's the big thing, though. You're holding on to that cash. Make it real. Make it tangible. You're holding on to a $100 bill. Put it in your pocket for a year. You don't have $100 anymore.
No.
The world's gotten more expensive. Everything has increased. That 100 feels more like 97.
Yes.
Do it another year, now it feels like 94. You do it long enough, it starts losing real value.
Yeah, you got a $2 bill in your pocket.
There you go.
So yeah, totally makes sense. So if you have $100,000, it depends on where you are in life, is what I'm hearing. If you're closer to retirement age, then there's different options. If you're younger in life, there's different options. But essentially, and I like the what you added about the 3 to 6. Who cares if you have $100,000? If you do not have an emergency fund, that you don't really have the $100,000, because life happens. Yep. Tires get blown, cars need replacing, babies are born, weddings happen. So sometimes.
And sometimes you need that life check, because I've had that conversation where, hey, I have $100,000. What should we do? Great. Sounds good. Let's go with that. All $100,000. Well, hold on. How much is in your emergency fund? Well, that is my emergency fund. Okay, well, then we shouldn't do all of it. Let's go back to the board and calculate out how much should be set aside, and then how much is going towards that new goal.
So just that you sidestep so many issues that people will run into by just going a little bit deeper and looking at the whole picture rather than just the $100,000. That's experience talking. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and tap into some of that experience, what's the best way for them to contact you, Chad?
Lots of easy ways. There's always email. There's always phone. Going to thrivestewardship.com is one of the easiest ways, because, hey, all the contact info's there. There's a schedule an appointment button right up at the top. Complimentary consultations.
Complimentary? You don't charge like $500 an hour like a lawyer?
No. I don't like doing that as a fiduciary advisor. We're all about best interest. I want to make sure we have a conversation first. Yep. You get to know me. You like me. You want to do business with me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to charge for that. It's a conversation.
There you go. So if you want that free consultation, just go to thrivestewardship.com. That's thrivestewardship.com. And after the break, we're going to talk about wealth building and how it has to do with real estate and a little thing called Financial Peace University. Back after this.
Selling your home doesn't have to be a stressful experience, especially when you work with Johnny Jennings and the Made for More Living team. Just Google Made for More Living, and when you do, you can type in your address and find out what kind of offers you would get on your home, or how about this, how much you would get if you wanted a cash offer today from Johnny Jennings, no matter what kind of condition your home is in, no matter what kind of repairs are needed. Give him a try. There's a reason why he's number one in all of Sacramento. Johnny Jennings and the Made for More Living team. Just Google Made for More Living or go to madeformoreliving.com.